Alright everybody, it is that time for me to review this hack, and I've waited about 2 months after completing the hack to finally get around to this. I was not looking forward to this. I don't mind saying mean things when they're true sometimes, but like there's not much positive I pulled from this hack, so it's kind of a different animal. I don't want to just like beat on a hack, but I think this one probably deserves every little bit it gets. That being said, however, let's start with some of the good things and some of the stuff I liked. Obviously, Axeil Edition is redesigned, supposed to be made easier. It's got a bunch of new features from the original redesign. It's an update to the hack. It does that, for the most part, really well. Well, to an extent. A lot of the new features are really cool. There's automorph. The bombs aren't quite as atrocious, although they're still redesigned bombs. There's automatic wall jumping, which means you just hold jump, and when you're against a wall you can wall jump off. You just press the other direction, and when you have wall jump boots, you just jump off. There's no other button pressed. It makes the wall jumping so much easier. It's a really good thing. The best thing about redesign Axeil Edition is the map. The map has a lot of really cool stuff. It's certainly something I hope to see in more hacks. Kind of shows, what the map is capable of if people put a little more effort and try some new things with it. So the map is the best thing about this hack, and it's certainly worth delving into a little bit. Hopefully some other hacks really do that. Otherwise, beyond those, there were some interesting puzzles. The physics were slightly better, but don't get me wrong, these are still very much redesigning physics. They're just a little more bearable now. That being the case, I still don't really care for them at all. They're redesigned physics still. Just without quite as... Some things are not quite as annoying. Some other things are even more annoying. For instance, crumble jumping. You can't do that in this hack, even though it's already harder because faster physics. And there's still no reason why you can't jump off crumble blocks. Yeah, there's a lot of... We'll get into this a little bit later because that's a big point I want to hit on. Really, there isn't much else I can think of that I liked about this hack. The Chozo Guardian hunt, I liked that some of it was changed. Some of the locations were changed from the original. You had to look in new locations. And again, on the 1.4 version, which I have not played, and that might not be the current version by the time this is out, when you got to the point where it was just a Chozo Guardian hunt before terrain, then, the Chozo Guardian things would show up on the map, and you just had to figure out how to get there. So again, that helps the player out a little bit. There's no more required heat run, so that does help a little bit, also with the stated goal of making it easier. This room here, the grapple gauntlet, so much easier. It's harder to die. You still can die, but it's just lava underneath. And there's platforms and stuff to catch you can get out. This is where I'll start mentioning some of the things that really go south with this hack. And when things go south with this, they go way south. You'll know there's an energy tank in here, if you played the original, that you just jump to, and you get it, whatever. Not the case with this one. There's still an energy tank in here. You still can get it, I believe. But it's in such an off location, and with this giant lava bath I'm already taking, your player's not likely going to explore there at this point in time. And that's something that Drew seems to have done a lot with this hack. trade off, you know, it's like, hey, my goal is to make this thing easier. This is more playable now, whatever. One of the things that Drew seems to do all the time in this hack, and it's one of the most frustrating and annoying things about it, is you have stuff like that. It's like, oh hey, this room is easier. That's great. So in return, to balance it back to what it was before, let's move things, or adjust things, so now you can't get this energy tank. Or you're not likely going to be getting this energy tank. It's like he's trying to trade off. It's like, okay, this is easier, so I can now get rid of this and make it harder again. It's like, that should not be a trade-off made for a hack that's designed to be easier. That's just, there's no sense in that. Easier is easier. It's taking one thing, lowering the difficulty level, and not raising the difficulty level anywhere else. Otherwise, you're just bringing it back up to 0 where it was before. And this hack does that so much. It's so annoying when you play it. I mean, for the most part, it does do a good job of being easier than Redesign. But that's really not saying much. Redesign was already not a very easy hack. And overall, the difficulty is less in this. But there's a spike in terrain that completely blows the original out of the water. And it's just not... There's nothing about that that's acceptable for a hack that's supposed to be easier. I have a graph I made a while ago to sort of illustrate the point, where the original Redesign might fall in... the numbers on the left are like the difficulty, and the bottom numbers are, you know, how far in you are. In the original Redesign, you would pretty much hover around 3 or 4 in the difficulty all the way through. And this is just a representation. The only thing that really is accurate on the graph as far as the sections or segments of the hack is the last bit. Because for Axeil, terrain turns it way up above the original Redesign. And overall, this is why that ultimately makes this hack fail in one of its goals to be easier. Because, you know, that peak is what people are going to have to beat to finish the hack. You know, that's the biggest spike, and it's not optional. You have to get over this in order to beat the hack. So overall, I would say this is less playable, or less beatable than the original Redesign because of that spike. It's a much higher spike than anything in the original Redesign. And it's no reason for it to be that way. Like, a lot of the hack was easier. Not necessarily easy, but easier than the original. And then suddenly, that's the whole idea of, oh hey, I want to make this playable for players, just got thrown out the window, and terrain was made. I have nothing that can explain that. It's... I don't know. It's what Drew originally wanted for Redesign, that type of terrain, which he just didn't know how to do or whatever, something like that. Which is fine and cool, and it still would have been a massive pain or whatever, but there wouldn't be a big outrage or so much being upset with the hack if it wasn't sold as, or sold, market, whatever. If it wasn't marketed as, oh hey, this is Redesign, but easier. Now people can play it. That's not actually true because of terrain. It is what it is. He's still working on it, by the way. There's still, you know, a possibility he might be fixing some things or changing some things. But as of right now, it's not something I would recommend people play. Another Like, the difficulty thing, sort of lie about that was one thing. Of course, you know, part of that you can kind of excuse people who make hacks because they always think it's easier than what it really is. You know, they made it, they know everything. Like, oh hey, like when Drew first made the hack, he said, oh, the difficulty level, it's beginner, because it's easier than redesign. This is nowhere near beginner. The difficulty has been changed, or the rating has been changed to reflect how difficult it actually is. But, yeah. I mean, but that's one thing. The other thing that is really, really annoying, this is part to do with the crumble blocks, it's also to do with arm pumping now slowing you down, is the control freak nature of the hack and Drew. And this is probably the most frustrating thing with this hack, most annoying thing. Everything in here, it's like you can't do anything that Drew does not want you to do. It's why the arm pumping actively slows you down, because if he didn't do anything with arm pumping, there was actually something where you could charge a Shine Spark in like 4 tiles or something for people who could pull that off. So to get rid of that, or to prevent tassers or anybody from doing anything like that, finding sequence breaks, like just speedrunning, we're going to change it. Now arm pumping totally resets your running timer or whatever that counts for speed booster, and it actually slows you down now. Because Drew doesn't want you to be able to play the hack in a way that you want to play it. It's just how he wants you to play it. And that is one of the more frustrating things. It's also to go along with the crumble blocks. You know, you can't jump off crumble blocks. So they get put in spots where, hey, anywhere that might be useful to help out the player or whatever, jump off crumble blocks. They might skip like a 2-minute section. Nope, you can't jump off these things because redesign. It's like a lot of the sand falls in Meridia as well. Like when I was playing through it, this might have changed because there's been some talk about in the topic about this recently. There's really no rhyme or reason to what sandfalls you can or cannot jump up in the version I played, which was 1.2, I believe. It was 1.1 or 1.2, it was one of those. The only things that... The only sandfalls you couldn't jump up were the ones where it might actually speed up a little bit. You might skip like a couple extra rooms, or doing a little bit longer loop through Meridia. And that's just unacceptable in this hack. Going fast is not a thing, because Drew doesn't want you to go fast. It's just... I don't know why. Why he feels the need, or felt the need, to control everything that the player can do or whatever. One of the things that makes Super Metroid so great, so much fun, a lot of people really enjoy it, is because you can go anywhere at any point, really. You can break the game in all kinds of different ways. I just saw a video today about another entry into Lower Norfair in the original Super Metroid via some very strange stuff. And you know, that's part of the reason that makes Super Metroid so great. And it's so much fun, and people like it. There's all kinds of different ways to do things. They can use their imagination. They can try out things. They may or may not work. That doesn't matter. They can still try it out. There's a potential there that it might work. In Redesign, that's not the case. Drew decided fun should be removed so that he can make the player do only what he wants. And that is, you know, the thing that really makes this hack so frustrating and annoying, is just, you know, let me play it. I don't just want to be stuck doing what you want. Let me try things, and if they work, they work, and if not, they don't. You know, there's no freedom for the player. This is just, hey, I want you to do it this way. This is You have a brilliant idea trying something else. Too bad, I'm going to remove that. That's not how I want you to play my hack. I mean, the attitude just comes off of the hack. And it really comes from Drew, who made it, because it's... when you're playing it, you just kind of feel that it's like, he really doesn't want me to do anything. I have to do this way, and there's no other option. And it just makes a hack that's already kind of a chore into a bigger chore, and more frustrating and annoying. And that's really, really disappointing. Another thing along with that is he has like an extra challenge and an effort to actually try to make it seem like, hey, you have options. Drew added in a challenge, just like early powerbomb challenge or something, where you can get the power bombs early, you can break into terrain early, and do all kinds of weird stuff with that. You basically beat the game early with much fewer items. It's like, okay, that's a thing. However, even with that, there's still this control freak nature in this hack for no reason whatsoever. One of the posts on the topic, which I'll put up here, he's trying to do this challenge, and he found what he thought, might be an interesting or a possible way of doing it. And as it turns out, the path is blocked. Not by, just natural, quote-unquote natural occurrences, level design, whatever. Got a shine spark to a point, and then it's just like, oh, there's just these random, well, not really random, there's Drew blocks placed in front of the door or whatever that just completely take away they take away blue suit, they take away your shine spark if you touch them. So instead of being able to try something out, maybe circumventing a little bit of extra navigation or whatever, it's just removed. It's just gone. It's like, nope, you can't do this. And it's like, why? Let the player play the game. Let them enjoy it however they find to enjoy it. It's just, for whatever reason, I guess Drew does not think that's something that should be done. It's like, really? I mean, let us just be able to find out how we can do things. That's why a lot of hacks are way more enjoyable than this. They can be linear, say something like Cliffhanger or Eris, or Limit even. Those are pretty linear hacks. You can still, how you get to the next point where you're advancing feels up to the player though. Their movement, what they can do, is not being controlled by the hack's creator. Yes, they have to collect speed boost or whatever after a wave beam in order to advance, but how they get to that point is entirely up to them. There's not arbitrary barriers or anything blocking them everywhere they go, so that they have to do this way, they have to do it in this order, they have to do this, they have to do that. That's not in there at all. And that's really something I think Drew should keep in mind, because that makes those way more enjoyable. Like Limit, I know a lot of people don't necessarily like it. It's an older hack, it definitely shows its age, and it's not necessarily easy. I think that's way more enjoyable because I can still play it how I want to play it. And, that's something Redesign really needs. And overall, I'm gonna say I would not recommend this hack. Especially in its current state, which right now, again, is 1.4. I mean, even newer versions will still, like one of the major sticking points I have will still be in it. and that the physics are still, you know, what I think are awful. They're better than the original redesigns, that's for sure. But they're still not fun. It's like, don't touch Super Metroid's physics, leave them vanilla. There's really not many hacks. It's one of the reasons I don't like Project Base as much, because the physics have been changed, and they're not necessarily bad changes, they're just not the same physics, and that really annoys me when I play hacks. It might be different for different players, you know, some people probably enjoy that a lot more. I know some people probably enjoyed the original redesign physics, and these, for those people, this hack's physics will probably be really good. But yeah, it's just not my cup of tea at all. Otherwise, one of the other big things in the hack is just a massive amount of tedium is involved in this hack. You know, everything, you know, the hack is already big, and then Axeil made Redesign even bigger, and now it's under much more of a control freak nature where he knows how to do things now. So because of that, he can make players go the long way, and he does. It feels like every single time you can get something or do something, or you know where you have to go or whatever, with the hint system on the map or whatever, you will never be able to go a short way to that point. And it's always a super long way. It's the longest way possible. And it just adds to an already tedious hack. You know, I would say the overall word I would use to describe this hack from beginning to end is just tedious. There's really not too much enjoyment. There's a lot of slow, kind of boring stuff. And he's got these crazy puzzles where rewards are like 2 missile packs or whatever. It's like there's no point even bothering trying to get those. But yeah, this hack is very tedious. Terrain is a massive difficulty spike. You can only play it the way Drew wants you to play it. A lot of this, it just combines to make this really frustrating hack. And you know, there's a lot of really good ideas in here. It's just they're all wasted, really, on this hack. Like, I really like the map. The auto wall jump is a neat feature. You know, there's a lot of little things, a lot of coding that went into this. It's like a lot of work went into this, but it feels wasted because it's thrown into a hack that's just not that enjoyable. And to top it off, after you get through a lot of this pile of garbage, you get to terrain, and then, you know, it just throws the stuff in your face where it's like, I don't want to play this anymore. You might even get to that point a lot sooner before terrain, but you know, it's just like, wow, this is just something I don't want to experience. So I really don't know what else to add to this. There's not a lot positive about this hack that I can feel good about. Like, basically everything I have toward this hack, all my feelings are negative toward it. And that's really not a good thing for a hack to do. Because normally you can, or I find, you know, interesting tidbits or whatever. It's like, oh hey, maybe I'll use that. There's a lot of little obscure hacks where I pull ideas out of, try to play around with them a little bit, just to see, and some of them I've gotten into my hacks, mostly in fear. You really haven't seen anything with so little hacks that I pulled from other hacks. But there's normally like 1 or 2 little things somewhere that's like, oh hey, this is interesting, I kind of want to play around with that, see how it works. don't feel that way about Redesign at all. There's, like, the map is really cool, and there's a lot of coding, there was a lot of work put into it, but I really don't have anything from this hack that I feel I got out of it. It's just sort of was there, and it was a way I used my time, and I sort of wish I'd used my time differently. So, yeah, it's just not a very strong endorsement for this hack at all. I definitely, in its current state, do not recommend it. He is still working on it, but, and maybe then it'll be something, you know, that can actually be enjoyed. Terrain be toned down, all this other stuff. But it's still, I don't see him, like, he's working on, quote-unquote, fixing terrain. Make it easier or whatever. And we'll see how that turns out. Well, I won't personally, because I won't be touching it again. But, you know, it's possible that, you know, that he changes that so people might be able to play it and maybe get some enjoyment out of it. One thing I don't see him ever touching or getting rid of is the control freak nature of the hack. I don't see him removing these things that he wants the player to do. And there's not going to be any shortcuts. This is it. You're doing it this way or get out. You know, there's no freedom for the player, and I don't see him removing that at all. That just does not seem to be in his personality. So, yeah, I mean, as of right now, I definitely can't recommend this hack. I would actually recommend, if you were interested in redesign, I would recommend the original redesign. Because at least in that, you feel like you have some freedom as a player. This hack, Axeil Edition, you don't have that freedom. You are going to do it Drew's way, and that's it. And even though I would say, you know, it's a lot better for players to just play through, because, you know, the physics are easier. They're still terrible, but they're easier to mess with. And a lot of the other things are easier. I think you'll get more enjoyment out of the original redesign than you will this, just because you have that freedom to look around, try different things, and you don't have that in this. So, that's basically my recommendation for this is don't touch it. Maybe in 1.5 when terrain's easier. It's supposed to be easier, by the way. Doesn't mean it will be, it's just possible. That's what he says. I mean, that's one option. But until then, I would avoid this hack. The only thing I would say is think of ways, like if you're making a hack, think of ways you can make the map screen more useful. That is the one thing in this hack that was done really, really well. And I guess, you know, that is sort of something I could take away from this hack. Try and put in my hacks. You know, the map screen is really cool. It doesn't even need a hint system or whatever. But like on the map screen, he showed, you know, the speed boost blocks. You could see that on the pause menu. You could see where a power bomb block wall was. You saw that on the pause menu. Things like that. That, really good. I enjoyed that. By far the best thing about this hack. Otherwise, though, yeah, I don't recommend this.